Thank you, John, and thanks everybody who's joining today. I want to give a big shout out to John and everybody at InterDyn BMI for organizing the webinar. Again, thanks for having me today. We'll be presenting collections management today and really focusing on the new features. As some of you are probably aware, collections management was actually on the Microsoft product line for the past several years. It was actually originally developed by Professional Advantage some time ago, picked up by Microsoft and shipped in some of their core versions of GP. It's since transitioned now back to Professional Advantage for development reasons. Today we're going to mainly focus on the latest enhancements that have been added to the product since then transition. And that happened about a year ago from today. So June 1st of 2013 was the official transition of collections management back to Professional Advantage. So if you are interested in a core features demo of collections management, feel free to get in touch with John or your representative at InterDyn BMI, and we're always happy to demonstrate some of the core features. But again, for today's session, we'll focus on the latest enhancements as well as Company Data Archive Express, as John mentioned. So let's get underway. I just have a PowerPoint presentations to go through here, PowerPoint slides rather, and certainly don't want to PowerPoint anybody to death this afternoon. And then we'll get into GP and we'll go through the demo, and I do want to leave some time at the end of our session for some questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to submit those to the questions portal on the GoToWebinar when you have those. I believe we are going to address the questions that have been submitted that way. We do have a fair large today, so I don't know if we'll have enough time to open up the mic. But again, feel free to submit your questions on the GoToWebinar. So to start things off, let's just to let everybody know a little bit about the company. We are a Microsoft Gold certified partner as an independent software vendor. We've been partners with InterDyn BMI for several years as well. We do have operations in Australia, in North America, and in Europe. We're proud to have been a Microsoft President's Club member for the past 14 years, I believe that only includes the top certain percentage of the partner base worldwide. Also, Professional Advantage has had several contributions to the Microsoft Dynamics GP product line over the past several years. So some of those features you may be using today inside GP were once Professional Advantage add-ons. Some of our other Dynamics products that we do develop and support are listed there at the bottom of your screen. So that's a little bit about us. I just have one more slide to touch on here before we get into the demo. First of all, I want to just briefly cover the latest enhancements we'll be seeing today, the enhancements to that core collections module, as well as Company Data Archive Express and what that really is. So starting with the latest enhancements to the core collections management product. First of all, we've added some improved emailing capabilities. So as you see in the demo, collections management makes it easy to select a message template or email template inside GP and then select groups of your customers' invoices, or maybe all of the customers' invoices, to attach and send with these emails. Automation. We've added a feature we call collection plans. Now the collection plans, when you set up the newest version, you can choose from a predefined list of plans, so there'll be some out of the box for you to use and start using right away. You can certainly define your own collection plans from scratch, listing those out step by step, and essentially you want to create a different collection plan for your different customer types, and you can set up unlimited number of plans and assign those to your customers accordingly. And in essence, what these plans are, they are system-generated actions or reminders that process automatically based on the number of days a customer's invoice is past due. So to give you a quick example, a plan can have a email reminder going to the customer 5 days before an invoice is due if it hasn't been paid. And then once the customer goes past due on the invoice, maybe we have collection letters being sent out at 30, 60, and 90 days past due. Maybe we set up and schedule a phone call to happen at 100 days past due. And then maybe there's a final step in there. It's a final email, or maybe it's a reminder to yourself internally that, okay, this customer is now more than 120 days past due. We need to send them to the legal department or send them to a collection agency or just write off the invoice. Whatever that those actions are, you can set up and configure what happens. Now, when your customers are on the plan, they are sent to a processing queue. So when they're ready to get their next step or their next action, it's sent to the plan processing queue. So that sort of ensures that these actions are not happening in the background without any means for you to interject. Maybe you spoke to the customer yesterday and they don't need to get that next step in the plan. So all these actions are sent to a queue, which from there you can then process those all of them automatically with one click of a button, or you can go through and you can individually evaluate each customer and whether or not they really need to get that next step. So the plans we'll definitely take a look at in the demo. Smart lists. Those of you who use smart lists know how easy those are to view your data, really sort and filter the specific fields that you want to see. So we've added collection management options to specifically collection notes, which uses a smart list to filter those collection notes on keywords, your collector IDs, and more without clicking through individual records on the collection main window. Additionally, we've added collection note information to your standard receivables transaction smart list. So if you have an RM document that has a note attached to it, you can easily see that along with the details. Reporting-wise, we do now ship a couple of SSRS reports. So if you are using the SQL reporting services, you know how great those are. There's some cash flow forecast, customer metrics. You can have those reports emailed to you on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis. Get an idea of your aging. The reports let you drill down into that aging, see who the customers are, drill down even further and see which invoices are past due for those customers. So great things to utilize there. And then last point here of the core features, the core enhanced features, is first of all, setup-wise, we do have some quick start wizards for configuring collection actions, letters, plans, and queries. So the number of those out of the box you can start using tomorrow without going through the setup process. Also, Word invoices. One of the most popular requests we've received since getting the product back was to have the ability to attach and send Microsoft Word document invoices and receivable statements. So that would hopefully save your company on costs associated with expensive PDF writer licenses for each of your users. You can now use Word invoices. And then last piece here, the outside integration. If you are sending your invoices from a system rather than or outside of Dynamics GP, maybe it's a third party that integrates with GP, like Project Accounting or One Staff Back Office, or maybe it's a system that you're invoicing your customers that's totally outside the realm of GP. As long as that system, that invoicing system, can produce a PDF version of that invoice and save it to a shared file, we can point collections management to that file. That way it can pull those invoices and attach them to your collection emails. So that is really some of the stuff we'll see here in the demo with the enhancements to the core features of collections management. Company Data Archive Express, CDA Express. Some of you may be familiar with our archive tool. Now, in our ongoing goal to provide as much value to our collections management customers as possible, we've added the ability to use Company Data Archive Express. Now, the archive tool in general is going to allow you to move historical information in GP that's maybe clogging up reports, inquiry windows, slowing down overall performance, move that data from your production company over into an archive company. That way you not only streamline your database, you get rid of all that historical and usually irrelevant data up to a certain time period, and you improve performance, you can improve upgrade speeds, and save disk space. Those are really the four main benefits of archiving. Now, Company Data Archive Express will allow you to archive historical data from your general ledger and payables management. And I'll certainly go through and demo this new feature for you. But simply put, you enter an archive date. Let's say it's 12/31, December 31st of 2012. All of your historical records in GL and PM are moved out of production and into the archive company. So the data is still there for you to inquire on, and if you need it for audit purposes or reporting, but your processes in your live company are not running on that old data anymore. It's going to boost performance, again, streamline the database, and many other things. So along with the archiving piece, there's a database sizing window. It can really show you how big your database is based on the number of years you've been using GP. We have an index checker and some other diagnostics I'll also go through. So it's a really great database maintenance tool. And again, everybody who owns a license to collections management now has access to Company Data Archive Express. So with that said, let's get into the demonstration. Now for today's demo, I am in GP 2013. Please note that all of the latest functionality, everything you'll see here today, is supported in GP 2010 and GP 2013. So if you are on those versions, you can get everything up to date. If you're on an older version, you can still get the core features of collections management, but some of the latest bells and whistles will not be available until you upgrade to one of those newer versions. So let's get started here in GP. And again, for those of you just joining us, if you do have any questions, feel free to use that questions portal on the GoToWebinar to submit those. And we will have a Q&A session, time permitting, at the end of today's webinar. So again, feel free to submit those as they come up. Now the first window we want to take a look at is our Collections Management main window. If you're not familiar with the product, the Collections main window is really the hub of Collections Management. It's a control center. It's very nice for ad hoc and inquiry. And I'm going to pull up in a customer here so we can see some data. So everybody's favorite Fabricam customer, Aaron Fitz Electrical. So when we're inquiring on these customers and looking at the Collections Management main window, I'm not going to focus too much on that today. This is really a core feature, but in general, it should look pretty much the same as it has in the past. We've added a couple more fields. You can see now we include the customer's payment terms. There's a little bit more space down here for more of your collection notes to be viewed. Aging again, as always, and one great new piece before we get into the emailing capabilities is this extras button here. If you have a suggestion for a new feature, we want to hear from you. So if you think that there's an important field that we've left out here on the main window that could really make your day easier, don't hesitate to suggest new features for the product. That's one of the great things since Professional Advantage now has Collections Management back. We can implement those suggestions a lot faster than when the product was with Microsoft. So feel free to suggest new features. Stay connected with our blogs. We're always posting information about new features, efficient and effective ways to utilize this tool. So check those out. And then we do host bi-weekly webinars on the product. So again, if you're not familiar with Collections Management, are really interested in looking at some of the core features we won't touch on today, get out there and sign up for an upcoming webinar. Okay, let's get into the emailing capabilities we were discussing earlier. So a number of options here at the top of our window. One of them is to send our customer an email. So let's get the example that we're on the phone with Bob Fitz from Aaron Fitz Electrical, and we're discussing some past due invoices we're trying to collect from the customer, and Bob requests you send him those past due invoices. That way he can submit them to his accounting department and get you paid. So we can easily send a one-off email from this main window. And the main window you'll definitely want to have open when you're making your collection calls. So we'll click the email button. It's going to populate this email maintenance screen. I see that Bob Fitz is the main contact. His contact details are already set up in the window. I'm going to add his email address to the to column. Now, if we want to copy somebody or blind copy, feel free to do that as well. You can certainly do the salesperson for this account or somebody else at the customer's site. It also gives you the ability to select one of those message templates I was referring to earlier, and that's a letter ID or a collections letter, as some of you may know it as. So I'm going to actually pull on a template here, and you can see it's going to populate some verbiage. These templates, they're all configurable for you to use, and you can use the mail merge fields if you want to put in customer-specific information or invoice details in the body. I know this message is just going to Bob. I'm going to put his name in here so I can edit the email before it goes out, obviously. At the bottom, this is all the open AR documents, so we can select manually which ones we want to attach and send to Bob. Now, if we know we want to send him a group of invoices, there's a Select Documents drop down here. Now, this gives you several different grouping options. If we want to attach all the disputed invoices, maybe it's all the invoices, whether they're past due or they're still coming due. So a number of different options. Let's go ahead and attach all of Bob's overdue invoices. So you can see it attaches them automatically from your document list. I'm going to go ahead and refresh the email. You'll see that it populates the invoice details in the body of the email, the number, the date, and the amount of those invoices. And you'll notice it's going to make a PDF attachment of the invoices that gets sent. Now, if we need to include an additional attachment, maybe it's a credit card authorization form, there is an option for that here at the bottom. So whatever needs to go out to the customer, we have in the email, we'll go ahead and send that. So that's some of the emailing capabilities. The next piece of the demo, I do want to show you the collection plans. And the best way for you to understand really how the plan works is to first show you the plan setup window. So I'll show you a couple of examples. This first one here, it's a good customer plan. Maybe it has some more relaxed steps. Now, this is for your customers probably who always pay on time. You haven't had a problem with it in the past. So taking a look at this window, you can see the steps in the plan. So starting with the first step, it looks like this one goes out 7 days before the invoice is due. And we've configured an action called Soon Due. Let's take a look at what that action is. This one happens to be a letter. We'll open up that letter. Again, these letters are all up to you to configure. There are out-of-the-box letters for you to use if you choose. Looking at this letter, this is what gets sent to the customer, again, as the first step, 7 days before the invoice is due. Just a simple reminder to let them know that they have invoices with you that will soon be considered overdue. We list out the invoice detail in the body of the email, and then we've also chose to attach all invoices not overdue. So you can, in these letters, you can choose which invoices are sent as attachments. You also have the option of when you're emailing these letters, if you want to copy that customer salesperson. So if the salesperson is really involved with the customer after the sale, of course, you can certainly do that. So pretty straightforward with the letters and the reminders. And if I didn't mention this before, the plans are initiated based on the customer's oldest outstanding invoice. So if they're on this good customer plan, they're going to get these steps in the plan. And it's going to happen based on the number of days they're overdue. So going on to the next step here, at 5 days past due, looks like we're sending the customer a reminder. We got a call being scheduled at 14 days past due, a couple of letters going out after that, a couple more phone calls, and then another letter. At 150 days, we have the final step. Again, the final step or action in a plan can be a number of things. It can be a final letter to the email that says, okay, you're now X number of days past due. We need to put a hold on your account, and we can no longer service your company. Or maybe it's a reminder to yourself internally that customer so-and-so is this many days past due. Like I said, you need to send them to your collection agency, or you need to write off the invoice. Two other configurations with the plan. Once you've reached the last step, let's say that the customer hasn't paid you, they've reached their final step, you can have the plan keep repeating that last step. So let's say they get an email every 30 days that reminds them their account's on hold, or you can have the system just stop suggesting next steps, in which case, you can determine manually where you want to go with that customer. Now there's also a minimum amount that must be met for each of these plans. And the minimum can certainly be set at 0, but if we have a good customer, if their invoice is less than $100, we might not want to take them through this collection plan if they'll meet that minimum. And just scrolling through here, here's a few more examples of a couple of plans we have set up. A high-risk plan, maybe this gets assigned to your previous late-paying customers. So you can see the steps are a little bit more, a little closer together. They're more straight to the point. And then I think the last example here, yes, just a standard plan. Maybe we assign this to our customers who, who aren't necessarily a good customer or a late-paying customer. They're just every other customer, or maybe it's all the new customers. So just a few quick examples. Now, once you've assigned your customers to their plan and they're ready to get their action, those again, once they get to the first step, they're sent to your plan processing queue. So the collection plan processing queue, the window that we're looking at right now, this is showing us up here in the top portion of the window. This is every customer that is on a collection plan that's ready to get a next action. So we can sort this queue by many different with many different filters. We can look at all of our customers with a balance, whether they're past due or they're just about to become past due. We can just work with the overdue customers. We can sort by a collector ID, so if you guys have more than one person inside your organization that's doing this debt collection, you can just select your GP user ID and work with your customers. Sort the queue by a query we've developed, or maybe we just want to look at customers that have reached the end of their plan and determine, where do we want to go with these customers. I can search the queue based on the customer's name. I can sort by the specific plan that they're assigned to, the last action that they received, or the next action that customer is scheduled to get. So let's say, let's look at our third call here. Let's say, okay, the call is a pretty safe action. It's not sending anything to the customer. It's just scheduling a call in your collections task list. So I know it's a pretty safe action. I just want to go ahead and process these customers. So I hit process all customers. It would then assign all of these call tasks that are in this queue. Now, let's go back to looking at all of our customers who are ready to get actions. If you're glancing through the queue and you notice, okay, I spoke with American Electrical yesterday. Let me click on that. So if you click on the customer, The middle is going to show you the documents that are past due and which ones you want to include with the action. And then at the bottom you can see American Electrical Contractor is actually set to get the third letter here. So this is the letter that's going out, it looks like to Sue. So I can edit this letter quickly before it goes out. So let's say I type in here, Sue, I know we spoke on the phone yesterday. I just wanted to provide you the list of invoices as well to make sure you have those. So I can edit this before it goes out and then just process this one customer at one time. Now the more you become comfortable with your plans that you've set up and how the process works, you can come in here in the morning, take a look at everybody that's in your queue, and go ahead and process all customers. Now, it's going to show you what will happen before it actions all these steps. So it looks like if I process all customers right now, customers on my good customer plan, the system will generate and send 3, looks like final letters, 1 first letter, 2 second letters, 1 third letter, and then 1 note is going to be created. When you're sending the letters, you can have those email only, or you can email the customers who are set up with email addresses in GP, and then print those who aren't set up in GP. So that way you can send them to the mail, those letters and invoices, or fax those to the customer, however you're contacting them. And when you're assigning actions, such as your phone calls, you can select one specific collector for all those to be assigned to, or you can assign them to the customer's credit manager. So that one person who's in charge of that customer's credit. So you hit OK, it generates, sends all those emails, attaches all the invoices, schedules the phone calls, and it's going to save you a ton of time, whereas in the past we had to generate those emails, write them manually, go out and find the invoices we wanted to attach for the customer. As long as they're on these plans, we don't have to do that anymore. This is hopefully going to save you a ton of time. You can, after you process all the actions in your queue, go back to your collections management task list, and then work on making your phone calls. So that, in general, is the collection plans. The next, I do want to briefly show you the new Smart List. So let's first take a look at this collection note Smart List. Take a second here for this to populate. Go ahead and expand the window. Now, if you're familiar and you like how the Smart List feature functions, you know how you can change the sorting. You can choose which columns you want to display in your Smart List, and you can essentially export the data to Excel and manipulate it further that way. But if we're taking a look at all of our collection notes here, I've sorted by the action that these customers have promised us. Maybe I only really care about the ones who've promised us money, the promise to pay customers. So I found those. I scroll over. You can see all the fields on that collection note, the date they've actioned, they promised to pay, essentially who that's been assigned to, the amount they're promising to pay your company, and then you can actually display the note string. So I can easily see, we spoke to the customer on the phone, the customer's promising to make payments, things like that. So just an easy method to sort your collection notes. Now, like I said, if you want to export that data to Excel, this is that same Smart List. I've now exported it to Excel. I put on some filters so I can easily see here are my promised payments again, and I also wanted to see which invoices we're disputing. Here's the data in Microsoft Excel. Now, the other Smart List is those receivables documents with collection notes. So you can see we're under the receivables transactions Smart List. Again, it's sorted by the customer number. You choose what needs to be sorted here, and as you can see, I do have a couple of collection notes attached to these receivables documents. So it looks like they're promised payments. PTP, promise to pay. You can see that note string again here, and the information that we want to view. Okay, let's quickly look at where we can use the startup wizards, where we can install the sample data, and then I also want to show you the new abilities to include Word templates. So first of all, if you're not on the latest version, you want to get that installed, feel free to reach out to, again, your account manager at BMI. They'd be more than happy to get that going for you. Now, when you install the latest versions, you're going to get a ton of sample data to use, as I mentioned earlier. So on my sales pane, under Setup, there will be a new option called Sample Data. So we now provide out-of-the-box actions, letters, and collection plans for you to use and start to get your process going right away. So you can choose which ones you want to install, and then where that file share needs to point to on your directory. Go ahead and process that. So, and then a number of actions, letters, and plans will be installed in your collections management system, and those are ready for you to use. Now, the Word templates. If you currently don't like how the GP Word writing capabilities look, as you know, it's pretty format limiting. We've given you the ability to now include and use Word document templates. So, if I'm creating a collection letter here in my letter maintenance window, I can choose to use, just the text fields. As I said before, it's very format limiting. Now, if you want to use a Word document instead of this GP letter writing piece, you can opt to use that Word document, develop, obviously, your letter in Word, and then, again, save it to a file where that can be pulled from every time you want to use that template. And I do have an example of, just a simple example. Here's a final notice. As you can see, we can still use the mail merge fields here. So if you want to include customer data that's populated whenever you select this template, you can certainly do that. Just our final notice. And down here, I love this. It's it's a final notice. We're going to send the hitman out if you don't pay us your money. So, just an example of a Word document template. So I do want to keep things moving here and leave a few minutes for addressing some questions at the end of today's session. So let's now take a look at Company Data Archive Express and the big new feature that was released just a few months ago. So as I said before, with every collections management install, every customer who owns collections management now has Company Data Archive Express. And this is essentially an IT utility, and it's very straightforward. As I said before, it allows you to move data, historical data from your production company into an archive company. And that way you can improve performance in your lookups, reports, inquiry windows, streamline your database, decrease the time it takes you to upgrade, and also save your company disk space with those production company or companies you have in GP. So looking at the archive window is a very straightforward concept, a pretty simple tool to use. With the Express version, as I mentioned, you're able to, you'll select your destination company, it's the archive company where your data will be going. You'll be pulling the data from the originating company. Now this is your live company. You'll choose your archive date. Now the archive date you enter, let's say we choose December 31st, 2014. 2012. Let's pick a date in the past, not the future. So December 31st, 2012. Every historical piece of information before that date is now removed from the live company and transferred into the archive company. So you'll select the modules you want to archive from, and there's a transfer and remove option. If you want to, at any time, you are able to upgrade to our professional version of Company Data Archive. And the professional version gives you the ability to archive from all of the core modules of Dynamics GP. So not only do you get General Ledger and the Payables series, but you also get Sales, Inventory, Payroll, the full purchasing module. And then we are, later this year, releasing an enterprise version. If you're using project accounting or field service, look for that to come out later this year. Now, as I mentioned, there is also a feature with CDA Express that allows you to see how big your database is. And we call it the Data Distribution and Sizes window. I'm going to go ahead and calculate it. For my demo environment, it's not going to show me I have any data, very much data, if any at all, in here, so keep that in mind. But you can see I've been using the demo data since 2010. I can expand each year, and it's going to show me the modules and how much disk space in each module, so we can break it down that way. And we can go even one step further to look in and break down each module and see each SQL table, how many rows, and the amount of disk space each of those tables is taking up. So if you want to get a good idea of where it makes sense to archive from, you come in here, see how much disk space each year is taking up, and make your decision that way. Now, another great way to view this information is we built some Excel charts and pivot tables for you to view the information. I do have some sample customer data I do want to share with everybody. That's just another way to look at the information. So if we look at this chart, this is actual real customer data that we did get in-house. We can see their modules, and it doesn't look like they're using much disk space here in bank rec payables or purchasing. But if you look at the receivables and SOP, you can see their data is growing exponentially every year. So they may decide that it makes sense for them to archive everything from let's say June of 2013 and before, and it's going to roughly get rid of this X amount of data. So just a nice way to view your data distribution. Two other features that come with Company Data Archive Express, and these are really great features for your IT department. Now, the first one is called the Company Index Info. What this does, it runs a report on any company you run this in. You can run this on any company in GP, and it's going to show you fragmented indexes and whether Microsoft recommends those to be reorganized or perhaps, let's see, maybe rebuilt here. Now, we provide an email button, which will generate an email. You can specify where that email goes to, most likely your database administrator or IT department. Now, that email is going to contain the Microsoft recommended SQL script to run to optimize these indexes. Now, we recommend running this, if you're using the archive, we recommend running it pre-archive for your best archive performance. And then again, post-archive for your best daily operation performance. Since after you archive, you're likely to change the contents of your database quite dramatically. So they copy and paste that script from that email right into SQL Management Studio, and off you can go with the index defrag. Now, the last very useful feature, we've recently added a number of SQL and Dynamics GP diagnostics to run against your database. So you can see there are a number of them here we've included. Let's go ahead and process these so you can really see how it works. Based on, there's a large Microsoft document that's available to all partners and customers out there with a number of these diagnostics. And we've really made it easy for you to run these inside GP. Now, once you run the diagnostic, it's going to tell you if your database meets the recommendation, needs to be determined further, or it does not meet the recommendation, or perhaps there's some warning information you can take a look at. So if I click on the diagnostic, it's going to give you a brief description here of what it ran through and looked at, and also your database result. Now, if you want to get more information on what then Microsoft recommends to do, we've also included that document for more details. So simple things like the date of your last receivables aging. You can tell the last time we ran that. It's been over a week. Should look at doing that again soon. So that, in essence, is Company Data Archive Express. You got the archiving piece, and then you have really the three database maintenance tools that come along with that. So again, I really want to reiterate that that this is a new feature available to all collections management customers in our campaign to essentially collections gets you more. We want to provide as much value as possible with your license. So if you're interested in the full version of Company Data Archive, or if you want a demo of that product, a more in-depth demo that is, feel free to reach out again to BMI, and we'll certainly coordinate that for you. So with that said, John, actually I do have one more slide I want to share with everybody before we get into QA. Collections management is one product where you can realize your return on investment very easily. Now there's a statistic called Days Sales Outstanding, or DSO, that this product actually calculates for you. You can keep a log of your DSO throughout the year, throughout several years. And what DSO is specifically, it's your accounts receivable divided by a certain number of invoices you've generated in a specific period, times that by the days in the period. So you could calculate DSO for a 90-day period, or a 60-day or a 30-day period, and determine what that number is. Now DSO in general is a really good indicator that can show you if your collection process is working efficiently. And I guess in basic terms, it indicates how much you're selling and how fast you're getting paid. Now, if you're invoicing, those of you who are invoicing on net 30 terms, to give an example, a reasonably good DSO is typically around 40 days or less. So if you're running net 30 terms with your customers, if you have a DSO right around 40, you're usually running a pretty efficient collection process. Now, a quick example of how you can measure your return on investment. Let's say today you're a $52 million company. For this example, you're roughly collecting $1 million a week in revenue. Now, you haven't used collections management, or maybe you haven't used collections to its fullest. You implement maybe those new features, or you start using a collections management solution, and that decreases your DSO just by 1 week. Let's say you use it throughout that first year, and it just decreases DSO by 7 days. Now that result, you can then collect essentially $1 million more, $53 million company. So just by decreasing your DSO by 1 week, you can see the results, in that example. So that is one great way to track your return on investment with a solution like this. And if you're not using collections management today, that's one thing to consider. So again, before we open up for Q&A, I do want to thank everybody who's joined us today. Again, thanks to John and everybody at BMI for making this happen and organizing the webinar. Thanks for having me. I'll leave you with my contact details. And John, if you have any last words before we open it up for questions, I'll turn it back over to you right now.